Together with the Mid-Norway Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Greater Trondheim, I would like to welcome you all to this Technoport Innovation Breakfast, where we give the spotlight to some of the most fantastic deep tech startups that are in Norway at this point. I wish, of course, that you could have been here together with me, enjoying a good breakfast, and of course each other's company, but unfortunately reality has kicked us into the digital world. But hold on, we will meet soon physically, I'm sure of it. My name is Karianne Tung and I am the CEO of Technoport. From cancer vaccine, autonomous electric ferries, and to blood flow monitoring, there are so many amazing science and research-heavy startups out there. Many of them come as a result from NTNU and SINTEF. And for the first time, Technoport has curated a special list based on ecosystem nomination of the 10 Norwegian deep tech startups to follow right now. All of these startups are less than 4 years old and with some kick-ass technology. Today, you will meet all 10 of them through a short speed date for the next hour. And this is what it is, a speed date. All the 10 startups are given a couple of minutes each to give a short introduction. And halfway through, you as the audience have the possibility of asking questions or make comments to the 5 first startups. And after the next 5, you can ask questions to those 5. How you ask questions, you might wonder? Well, write your question or your comment in the chat, and we will make sure to ask the question on your behalf to the right startup. A last reminder to you all. 100,000 Norwegian kroner will be given by Technoport to the #1 startup chosen by our audience at our conference on the 27th of April. You can vote on your favorite during our conference, so make sure to register on our website. Okay, I think I'm ready. I hope you are ready. So let's get this show rolling, and we will start with the first startup. Our first startup is Chip NanoImaging, and Chip NanoImaging develops a chip-based super-resolution microscopy that enables new diagnostic means and the improvement of drug testing. And from Chip Nano today, I have with me Kristian Hagene. You are the CEO, and Kristian, I would like to give the floor to you. Welcome.
Thank you. As you might understand, we are a spin-off from the UiT, the Arctic University of Norway, and I will try to share a short presentation here. Compared to standard microscopy, we use a photonic chip to hold the sample and also to guide the light. That gives us advantages. Standard microscopy field of view is quite limited, typically 50 by 50 microns, while our technology gives a field of view that is 100 times larger. And we still maintain super resolution. And this means that we can do things 100 times faster. We might even be able to see more than 100 cells simultaneously, and we can look for rare events among many cells. And that gives us new market potential in pharma, healthcare, and research.
Thank you, Kristian. Excellent. I know that as a startups, there can be many barriers to overcome. Can you please share with us some of the barriers that you feel that you have met on your way?
I think our barriers are more or less universal for all startup companies, that are money and time. I think things are slow, even with funding and raising money. Also, of course, development takes time and the markets are slow. So I think that is our kind of main barrier. And I think that typically is the same thing for all startups. That's what you can make sure that this is the problem.
Yeah. Do you, since I guess you have already overcome some of these barriers, do you have any advice to some of other startups out there?
I think, as I kind of mentioned at the time here, that you have sufficient time in your plans to kind of complete the tasks, and also maybe have advisors that have kind of good judgment. So you do not never underestimate the value of good judgment.
Oh, nice. Kristian, I'm happy to have you here on our innovation breakfast. I wish Chip Nano all the best. Yep. So thank you for sharing with us today. Next startup out, we have Cimon Medical. Cimon Medical are a startup who are using non-invasive Doppler ultrasound technology to monitor blood flow on premature newborns. And Tormod Thomsen, you are the CEO of Cimon Medical, and you are here together with us today. Welcome. The floor is yours. I hope. There we are. Tormod are here.
Thank you,
yes, perfect.
Thank you for the invitation to come and present at the breakfast. It's really exciting for us. So Cimon Medical is a startup company on a journey to transform Doppler ultrasound into a monitoring technology, enabling continuous monitoring of blood flow. And we believe that we can make a difference by improving diagnosis and outcome in many situations where monitoring of changes in blood flow velocity have clinical relevance. So one example is within neonatology. And our first product, NeoDoppler, is targeting monitoring of brain blood flow in premature and critically sick infants. So 15% will need intensive care in their first month of life. And many of these babies have unstable blood flow to the brain and are at risk for developing brain damage. So offering continuous brain blood flow monitoring can help prevent brain damage by enabling timely clinical interventions and thus improve outcome and quality of life for these vulnerable patients. So now we are in the final stage of product development, and we aim to launch NeoDoppler in the European market in the beginning of 2022. Thank you.
Wow, exciting. This has been a journey for all of you, I guess. Can you say something about what you think has been the most funniest part of this journey?
I think that at least the most motivating part of this journey is that we really feel that we can make a difference for a lot of patient groups. And I think we are building, the company is building on the shoulders of a research project that has been led by the Technology Transfer Office at the NU since 2016. And I think that all the people involved and seeing the sort of enthusiasm from the community, both from the technical side, but also from the clinical side is really motivating for everybody.
Yeah. You work together here with both industry and the healthcare sector. How has it been to cooperate with these parts?
I think that's been it's been very stimulating. I think it's, as you say, it's a very interdisciplinary approach, and I think one of the characteristics of the research, the ultrasound research group in Trondheim is exactly the close link and interaction with the clinicians, making the technology truly useful, right? So it's not development of technology for the technology itself, but for real applications, which is obviously huge benefit for us when bringing this into the real world.
Perfect, Tormod. Thank you for joining us here today. Next startup out in line, we have Clex Bio. And Clex Bio engineers functional human blood vessels for clinical transplantation. Very exciting startup there. Together from Clex Bio, we have with us today Armend Håti, which is the CEO of Clex Bio. So Armend, I would like to give the floor to you.
Thanks a lot for having us. All right, so I'll say a couple of words of who we are. So at Clex Bio, we envision a world where no patient needs to die while waiting for an organ transplant, and where organ models can help predict the effect of pharmaceuticals more accurately, such that these can get in the hands of suffering patients much faster than they are today. So in our company, we hold the full rights of a patent family to a core technology that comprises over 7 years of R&D and the engineering of tissues. So the original technology was developed at NTNU, at Harvard, at EPFL, and at the University of Birmingham. And this is so we're a spin-off or a startup coming from an academic background. So what we do in our company is we combine something called lab on a chip with biomaterials, materials that yourselves love to live inside, and then living human cells. And in doing so, we aim to address the biggest bottleneck in organ engineering today, and that's the creation of vasculature. And by doing this, we aim to then be the first to actually engineer patient-specific blood vessels for clinical transplantation. We're currently 4 people and still growing. We have academic industry expertise from leading universities and biotechs globally, and a fantastic network of supporters. So since we started in January last year, we have received over $1.7 million in funding and won several startup competitions in Europe. We're currently working really hard in making tissues for clinics a reality. So if you happen to be at ShareLab in Oslo, feel free to stop by, either to say hi or for a coffee. Thank you. Yeah.
Nice. Armend, I'm just curious because your idea, it sounds a little bit science fiction. Is that something
we are definitely
hear?
moonshot. I mean, we're aiming for the moon. So we're definitely in it. The whole team is in it to basically revolutionize the space of tissue engineering. We're not in it to basically develop another lifestyle business. So that said, yeah, I'd say it does sound like science fiction, but I think we're really at the brink of a technological revolution in the space of tissue engineering, and we really want to be on the edge of that development.
You said that you have been working very hard. Do you have any advice to some of the other startups who are going to take the same journey as you guys now?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, with the disclaimer that we're still developing and still learning, and probably that the advice that I might give would relate more to biotech companies. I'd say one thing in retrospect that we did right was to think globally all the way from the beginning. And the reason for that is, although we have a really nice and growing life science segment in Norway, it's still an ecosystem that needs to develop further. So for us, it's been super important now to find investors, find customers, find collaborators and partners outside of Scandinavia. And not only for now, but also thinking about future financial rounds, thinking about future talents to fuel growth, etc. So think global from the beginning.
Good advice. Last question to you. Has it been hard finding investors?
Definitely. It's been, I mean, we're kind of we're very energetic founders, very optimistic as well. So we had kind of set very hard goals to ourselves and trying to get funding fast. And I mean, I guess we have in some regards, but it has been difficult also because we've also set the bar really high. So among a couple of the investors that have joined us so far, we have global thought leaders in the space of biotech pharma from Asia to Switzerland and to the US. So we've been very fortunate in getting all these amazing people on board, but it's been a lot of hard work, definitely.
Thank you so far, Armend, and thank you to ClexBio as well. We are going further on to our next startups that we have with us here today, and that's Hubro Therapeutics. They are developing a technology platform for cancer vaccines targeting stomach and colon cancer as a form of immunotherapy. And from Hubro, we have with us here today Jon Amund Eriksen. You are the CEO of Hubro, and I would like to give the floor to you.
Hello.
Welcome.
Yes, Hubro Therapeutics, we develop cancer vaccines, and we are coming from a Norwegian pioneer project that Norsk Hydro ran together with the Radium Hospital in the 1990s. And we are actually we are based on a third technology platform coming out of that project. Other companies like Targovax and Ultimovax are also coming from the same technology platform. So we are based on a kind of well-proven academic research project. And we target specific cancer-associated mutations that are very specific for specific cancers. So the vaccines we are developing can be used both for therapeutic treatment of cancer patients by inducing immune responses in the cancer patients, but the nature of the target mutations, they are also in a way that we can use also those targets for prophylactic vaccinations, and that's a long-term project for Hubro Therapeutics, is to develop protective cancer vaccines for high-risk populations. And we have existed for about 2 years, and we are ready to set our first cancer vaccine into clinical testing this year. We intend to start the first clinical trial in, maybe it will be Q4 this year. So basically, I think that's a short introduction without going into scientific details of the technology, which is probably very complicated to do in 1 minute or 2.
Well, this is very exciting and can have a huge impact, I guess, on the world's population. As you said, you have been working hard, a lot of research over time. We have a huge Norwegian ecosystem for innovation. Do you feel that you have gotten the help and support that you need during this process?
I mean, we knew what to do. So we contacted Innovation Norway more or less the day that the company was founded. And we very early got support from Innovation Norway. And of course, we got the SkatteFUNN tax refund system working for us, and also this year we had an approval from the Research Council in Norway. So we are very satisfied with the support we have gotten so far from the Norwegian ecosystem.
Do you have any special barriers that you would like to mention, which you have met on your journey throughout this process?
With financing or the general project? Financing? I mean, there's always a huge need for fresh capital when you develop new therapeutics like cancer vaccines. So the challenge is always to get appropriate funding. And so far, we have actually had an easy ride so far. We have good investors on board from the beginning. We have conducted 2 capital increases. But of course, a challenge will still be to raise more funding. And at the end of the day, we need to prove in the clinical setting that the vaccines are working. That is, of course, always the main challenge for therapeutic development. But funding so far has gone well, but it's still a challenge, of course.
Jon Amund, thank you for joining us here today. I would like to go further on to our next startups. But before I do so, please remember that you can ask questions and make comments in our chat. We will have time for the first Q&A now after the next startup. So just write your question to your startup in the chat field. So last startup out before our Q&A, we have HyStar. HyStar enables sustainable hydrogen production through a game-changing electrolysis technology. And from HyStar, together with us today, we have Fredrik Movil, which is the CEO of HyStar. So Fredrik,
hi, thank
welcome.
you, Karianne, and good morning, and thank you for having us. So HiStar is basically developing an advanced electrolyzer for green hydrogen production, which is based on a patented technology that we have transferred from Sintef. So we're basically a Sintef spin-off company. So our aim is to replace gray hydrogen production, which is basically based on fossil fuels, with green hydrogen production, which is environmentally friendly with no emissions. So the challenge with green hydrogen is the cost of production and the capex, and our technology dramatically improves the cost of green hydrogen production and also the efficiency of green hydrogen production. So we're only 6 months old as a company, but we've raised 70 million crowns, and now we're busy hiring people, and we're busy developing the product into a commercial version, which we will launch as quickly as we can. So speed is the key for us, and attracting talented people. So if anybody is listening who'd like to make the world a greener and better place, then please come and join us.
Nice. You say that you want people to join for a greener Earth, and hydrogen has huge potential. What kind of impact do you think your startup can have on the world, on society?
First of all, I think I should comment that green hydrogen is expected to have a massive impact on the whole energy transition. It will be a key part in moving to a renewable global energy world, if you like. So that's point number one. And there will be new technology that can enable this to be done in a more efficient way is really important. So we're all about improving kind of the environment and the climate, first of all, but we have a very competitive technology that can have a very dramatic and significant impact on the adoption of renewable power and green hydrogen production.
What would you say has been the funniest part of your journey?
Well, it's always exciting to start a new company, first of all. This is the third time I'm doing that, so that's one thing. But I would say the biggest difference for HiStar and for me personally is that there's such a strong interest and desire both in the market and in the industry and from politicians to make green hydrogen a reality and to push renewable power. So that has been very inspiring and fun as well, interesting to see.
Thank you so much to HiStar. I would like to go over to the questions and comments that some of our audience have been writing in the chat. And first of all, we have a question to Chip Nano. So I'm going to give the floor to Chip Nano first. Question for you, Chip Nano. What is your market strategy? And the question is from Lisbeth.
Yeah, I think we can start with saying that we will go for building a distributor network, and our kind of first target area of kind of customer area is academic institutions and research institutes, and that is because they kind of constitute more than 50% of the advanced microscopy market. And we will then also use these academic and research users to find and develop new applications that we hopefully can develop for more specific products. And one of those is also drug testing in the pharmaceutical industry, so that we can kind of look into many more cells at the same time and then give a better significance for validating new drugs, and then hopefully also make pharmaceutical companies save a lot of money and maybe also reduce the time to market and improve throughput of their systems. That was maybe a brief,
Thank you.
A brief explanation.
Thanks. Next question goes to Cimon Medical and is from John. The question is, are there other suitable applications for your tech?
Yes, yes, there are a number of applications, and we are working on some of them already. So we are now testing the technology also in the last phase of birth, during active birth, when the head is visible in the birth canal, to see if we can improve decisions on whether the baby needs to come out quickly or not. And we received some funding also for a project we call Rescue Doppler, where we are using this technology to monitor carotid flow on the neck of the patient in connection with sudden cardiac arrest, to also improve the CPR quality and decisions about defibrillation.
A lot of opportunities there, absolutely. I can hear. Yes, so the next question we have for Clex Bio, and the question is, how much time have you spent so far looking for funding, and was it worth it?
That's a good question. I mean, we started thinking about funding all the way in the beginning in January last year. So our first approach was to look for governmental support. So we applied for funding from the Research Council of Norway, Innovation Norway, and we've been super fortunate to have both of them support us early on. But in addition to that, we also had dialogues with private investors even before this. So we've been having these dialogues for a long time. But then, I mean, from us, it's, again, as I mentioned in my presentation, it's been very important for us to have the right investors on board as well. So we've been spending quite a lot of time. And the nice thing has been that we did secure some funding from these governmental support schemes, which then allowed us also to be a bit more picky in the process of finding the right investors. So it does take time. And it does take a lot of the capacity of the team in these dialogues with investors.
But I guess it's worth
absolutely.
it.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely. I think it's one of the fundamentals, right, of having a business and starting a business is cash, and that now allows us to do all the activities of developing these tissues, hiring people, and then expanding. So obviously, definitely worth it.
We're going to the next question, which are for Hubro Therapeutics, and the question is, your innovation is high risk and has a long innovation cycle. Have you been looking at relevant EU funding?
We have started. We have actually, we are a small company yet, and we haven't been able to look at all opportunities, but we are aware of all the financing systems also in EU. But we have concentrated on the ecosystems in Norway, and we have also worked in our investor network. We have worked very closely together with the Radforsk investment fund. And until now, we have raised the money we have needed so far in that network, but we need to expand the funding opportunities, of course. And all the EU programs is, of course, something we review.
Thank you. Then we have time for one last question, and the question will go to Hystar. What do you consider your most important competitive advantage?
Hi, sorry, I had to press the button again. Well, it's in the first instance, it's our patented technology that enables us to produce a lot more hydrogen compared to a equivalent electrolyzer. So to put that in context, we can produce 150% more hydrogen than another electrolyzer with the same hardware cost and footprint. And we're also able to run more efficiently than a typical electrolyzer, so we have an efficiency advantage. And this is based on using we're able to utilize a much thinner membrane than other PEM electrolyzers. I could talk about this for a long time, but we are able to use a membrane which is about 1/10 of the size, so we're reducing the losses dramatically by going down in membrane size. That's the main advantage, and we have a patent that enables us to use that thin membrane, which other electrolyzers are not able to do at the moment. So there are other things we need to do to stay competitive, obviously, and so we have a big focus on automated production processes for our electrolyzer, and we're planning to build a factory which will be state-of-the-art and with a fully automated assembly process. But the starting point is that we have a much better technology than anybody else out there at the moment, but we need to keep working on improving our technology in the future as well, because lots of people want to get into the green hydrogen space now, but so far so good.
Thank you, Fredrik. I would like to go back to the 5 remaining startups. Thank you guys for asking questions, and thank you to the startups for answering them. So the next startup out is Minuendo. And Minuendo is developing acoustic earplugs that provide high quality sound to prevent hearing loss. And together with us today from Minuendo, we have Stian Aldrin, which is the CEO of Minuendo. So Stian, welcome. And the floor is yours.
Hi there. Yes, hearing damage is a significant problem. In fact, it is the largest occupational injury in Europe. This means if you are a person working in Europe, the most likely problem that you're going to have, bring with you home from work, in your retirement, but also in your private life earlier, is tinnitus or reduced hearing. So this is a large problem. If you look at a construction site, you see people have hearing protection, but you know that apparently these products don't work, or it's difficult for people to know how to use it correctly, how to protect themselves. So it's an unsolved problem. So what we do is we the things you said, but the main part is we add some smartness. We monitor the noise levels, not just external ones, but the actual exposure to each person, and guide the user about when and how to use the hearing protection correct. So we move hearing protection from being a stupid shell as a glove or a shoe over to the category of being a smart wearable, helping you to protect yourself and live a better life. Yeah.
Thanks. I guess you are a young company and you have taken a journey as everybody else here. What would you say have been your barriers to overcome?
In particular, we built a great team, but I think in general, for startups still, it's better than it was 10 years ago, but it could even be more popular for people to start working in startups. I think most of the people interested in working in startups, they start themselves. So it would be great if more of the general people, skilled people sitting around in larger companies were interested in working. So recruiting good talent and international people with international experience. So we spent a lot of time trying to get foreigners based in Oslo, but also hiring people outside of Norway to want to work for a Norwegian company. So recruiting is always at least very time consuming. Yeah.
You say here that talent attraction might be a barrier to overcome, and you tell your story. Would you say by today that you have the talents you need hired in your company?
No, I mean we're growing. We continuously hire. So now we're 10, and we want to be 5 more in half a year. So that's an ongoing process. So I thought, that's what I would be doing is sales and talking in events like this. But most of my time I spend on admin, fundraising, and hiring people. So yeah.
What would you say that the possible impact of your startup can be in the future?
Well, I think we will solve the largest occupational injury in Europe. So people live longer, and there's evidence that what we before thought was age-dependent hearing loss is actually just accumulation of all the noise that you had throughout your life. And we see a clear correlation between hearing damage and dementia because of the isolation it causes. And the hearing aid industry is huge, but prevention is much better for individual and for society.
Thank you, Stian. Good luck further on. Next startup out in line, we have Ocean Space Acoustics. And Ocean Space Acoustics has developed PingMe. That's an acoustic system able to detect, identify, and position lost fishing gear via an attached transponder. And together with us today from Ocean Space Acoustics, we have Tone Berg, which is the CTO in this startup. So Tone, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We started a little more than 2 years ago, and our vision is to reduce the amounts of plastic in the ocean. In fact, 15 million tons of plastic runs into the ocean every year. And from this number, approximately 10% comes from the fishing industry. And OSAC, which is a spin-off from SINTEF, we want to reduce this number. And we are developing a system based on 3 units, which is a transponder, which is attached to the gear, which I just have here to show. It's also a cloud service, and it is a transceiver on the boat. And this transceiver is approximately a kind of an echo sounder. And the system is meant to be like when a boat, which has this system on board, goes on the ocean, transmitting out sound signals, and these signals hits this kinds of transponder. The transponder replies with a message and sends its ID, and then the position is found. And then this position and the transponder ID is transferred to the cloud service. So whenever a fisherman loses his gear, he sends this information to the cloud, and then whenever another boat, for instance, finds this system, it will transform this information to the cloud, and the cloud then tells the owner that, okay, your net is in this and that position, and this was found yesterday, for instance. So this is our system.
As you explained, plastic at seas are a huge problem today. So I guess that your idea can have huge impact.
Yes, we believe so. But the price must not be too expensive then for fishermen in the whole world to buy it. And we hope that we can reduce this approximately 10%, which it is today, to perhaps reduce it with 1 or 2%. And it will also have some other effects that it will. This plastic is a disaster for birds, for fishes. We all know about ghost fishing, and also for mammals, for whales and turtles. Not so much in Norway, but in the rest of the world. So we hope that there will come some kinds also some kinds of regulations that will make this mandatory.
Thank you, Tone, for joining us here today. Time's running fast, so we will go over to the next startup we have with us today, and the next one is Tempogene. And Tempogene deploys next generation technology to make our food safe and more sustainable. So from Tempogene, we have Øystein Lie together with us, which is the CCO and co-founder of Tempogene. So Øystein, I would like to give the floor to you. Welcome.
Thanks a lot, Karianne. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me. I have a slideshow here to share with you.
We'll soon see it, I hope.
Yes. And then on the...
Yes, there we are.
Yes. So Tempogene is applying, I would say, the fifth year or the fifth shift in genetics. It's not a very new thing in science, but in terms of applying epigenetics in business, I think we are in a forerunner. Epigenetics, the mechanism of turning on and off genes is almost the language of all living things. And it has a memory, and it can be inherited. So the reason why we apply this to aquaculture now in the first place is that talking and communicating with this inner language of the fish can give us a lot of information how to optimize aquaculture production. So what we do is actually combining with smart algorithms and machine learning and artificial intelligence, we combine 3 universes of data. Our new language, the fish inner language, is epigenetics. Combine it, link it with production regimes, production protocols, and performance data. Then we have linked all most important universes of data. And through a continuous linking of these data universes, through advanced bioinformatics and artificial intelligence, we will be able to make a gold standard for smolt production, because these markers will be more and more informative and intelligent and tell us how to move to do the best practice. So here an example of something we call the Salmo Clock. It's a biological clock, epigenetic clock, displaying unique and shifting epigenetic patterns during the critical life phases from egg to smolt. As you know, a robust smolt is something you are looking for now. Although Norwegian aquaculture is a flagship, a very successful industry, they are still meeting a lot of challenges with the disease and losses, early sex maturation, etc., etc. And one of the most critical points is to produce robust smolt. So here we think also we have a very, very interesting, powerful new tool to guide to a robust smolt production. Yes.
Thank you, Øystein. Just a short question to you. How has it been cooperating with the industry with this startup and this idea?
It has been challenging, but also very interesting. We started with developing services, and we are into the first sort of phases there. Then we also have a very interesting discussion with strategic partnership, because this is something that can be also implemented into products. We are talking to players from drug discovery and vaccine development, because this will guide you into all kind of pathological mechanism and systems biology to find out how to develop new systems for therapy and immune therapy and vaccines. We are talking to certification companies, because they and we also agree with them that this new language we can attract with new tools could act as verification systems to verify as to whether you have been to a very good practice, or whether you have fooled around and not doing a very nice production and with the fish. Yeah, and the good thing with epigenetics is that it has a memory. So you have to behave. You have to take care of the epigenetics. Otherwise, you will run into problems. And it can even be inherited. So we have a diverse dialogue now with a lot of players, nationally and also worldwide. So I think we are in the forefront with applying epigenetics in bioproduction. And the nice thing also that this is a transboundary technique. We started the aquaculture because that is a big thing in Norway, but of course, all kind of this is applicable to all living things and bio.
Thank you, Øystein, for sharing your story. We will have to go over to the next startup now, which is Seabus. And Cibus is a startup which provides zero-emission autonomous urban mobility on water. And from Cibus today, we have with us Erik Dyrkorn, which is the CEO at Cibus. So Erik, I would like to give the floor to you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Very good presentation so far. So thank you. I'm Erik Dyrkorn, CEO of Cibus. We are a spin-off from NTNU. And we're based on decades of research and on automation and autonomy. And we were founded about 1 year ago. We're targeting a huge emerging market globally, which is linked to what I'm going to show you right now. This is a situation that is seen worldwide. Urban areas growing very quickly, surrounded by the car technology that really took over from the main infrastructure that would used to be the waterways. Now they're just sitting there next to these congested roads, doing nothing or hardly anything compared to what they used to. And that's the opportunity that we are targeting with our autonomous technology. Building more roads seems totally futile, and many cities are looking for these other opportunities. And most cities are also founded next to waterways, since they were our main infrastructure. And our mission then is to revitalize these urban waterways with autonomous electric ferries that will create shortcuts through cities, shortcuts between communities, and enable a new way of conducting clean and smart city development. Cibus's core technology is autonomy as a service to ferry operators, as well as an assurance framework utilizing digital twins. And in short, that means that we create a digital captain and the process on how to certify that captain, which is maybe the most important and difficult part of it. NTNU has its first prototype in the world on the water here in Trondheim that has been operating for a couple of years, and a second one coming on water very soon in the next few days. And that will start test operation this summer as a world's first. And this is attracting a lot of attention to Trondheim as we are actually pioneering the use of urban autonomous waterborne mobility. Cibus's main purpose is to commercialize all that knowledge and technology from NTNU globally. So let me see, stop sharing. There you go.
Thank you, Erik. Very exciting story and startup there. Do you feel that you have gotten the help and supported that you need from the Norwegian ecosystem, developing both the idea and your startup?
Definitely. I would say, I think Cibus is sort of a result of an ecosystem that is really well functioning. We are 14 founders. 6 of us are professors. We have a very strong network in Norway and globally, and rest on sort of the legacy of Norwegian maritime industry being maybe the strongest in the world when it comes to quality and high technology.
Do you have any advice to other professors or founders who want to start a startup?
Well, I've done this a couple of times now. It's a lot of opportunities in your network. Trying to do things yourself is really difficult, and it's like the African proverb: if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I strongly believe in that, and share your stocks, and think about how we can do things together. It's really what really makes a difference on how to move far, bring in the competence required. And yeah, Cibus is definitely it's a project that is super complex. It's super difficult what we're doing with lots of risk, but so we need all the people and competence and also financial resources required to do this.
Thank you to Erik and Cibus. We are now gonna meet our last startup for today, but I just want to remind you that we have a couple of minutes to the end that you can ask questions and make comments in the chat so that we can have the 5 last startups to answer them. So Last one today, but not least, we have Vivo Bionics, and Vivo Bionics has developed a small sensor designed for use in organs for monitoring purpose. And from Vivo Bionics today, we have with us Ingelin Clausen. You are the CEO of Vivo Bionics, and Ingelin, I would like to give the floor to you.
It's great. Thank you for being here. So, around 900 million people all over the world suffer from urinary dysfunction. And if all these people lived in the same country, it would actually be the third largest country in the world. And urinary problems is not a very pleasant problem to have. It can highly impact both health and quality of life. So, we are disrupting the entire field of urology by delivering tiny bladder pressure sensors. And our solution is a patented microsensor system based on more than a decade of research from Sintef Mina Lab. Current diagnostic methods usually measure the pressure for 15 minutes in an artificial hospital setting. Because our sensor, our tiny sensor, can sit inside the bladder, we can monitor the pressure while the patients are living their lives, their normal lives, for up to 30 days. And the data goes directly into the cloud, and the physician can there review the data to determine the best treatment. And because our patents, they apply to the entire human body, bladder pressure monitoring can very well be just the beginning. So we have an international team with complementary skills. Our core competence is sensor development and design, but we also have on board people with experience from software development, including cloud services and cyber security. We also have serial entrepreneurs and team members with many years in market research and business development, and also regulatory affairs. So I think our team can really revolutionize the game of organ monitoring. So we tested a system back in 2014. We did the first test on humans with a prototype. So we are now on track to have the first product on the market by the end of 2023. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you please share with us any advice to other companies, maybe to how to tackle the barriers that you might meet on your way?
I think the best advice I can give is, I think perseverance is the key. That's the best advice. And next is to be realistic. What you can achieve in what time. And I think also if you have the possibility to start testing in a realistic environment, do that as soon as possible. So I think we did, as I said, back in 2014, and we learned so much from that.
What has been the funniest part of the journey so far?
Lots of funny stuff, and as a startup, you experience new things every day. That's fun in itself. I would say the feedback from the clinicians all around the world that really see a need for new solutions in this field. That's very encouraging. So I think that's, so what we do will mean a lot for many, many people, and that's very encouraging.
Thank you, Ingelin. I would now like to go over to the last part, which is the Q&A and questions from you guys. And we have time approximately for one question to each startup. So we start with Minuendo. And there's a question for Minuendo here. Could there be other applications for your technology, or can it be used to help people with impaired hearing skills and not only preventing damage?
No, mainly for preventing, but hearing damage is not a digital disease. So if you have some hearing damage, you might not necessarily need a hearing aid. You will want to protect yourself from getting this getting worse hearing damage, or if you have tinnitus, you might just be sound sensitive. So the solution here is to continue to protect yourself.
Thank you, Stian. We go over to the next question, to Ocean Space Acoustics, and the question are: do you have any pilot customers as we speak?
Yes, we are in negotiations with 3 pilot customers, but we haven't signed it yet. And we also have just signed a big contract with, not a big contract, but a contract with a big producer of fishing gear. And so we will also talk with them to see if we can use them for some pilots. And we will start the pilots in, the first pilot will be in June, and then we will continue during the autumn.
Thank you, Tone. We have also a question from Morten here to Tempogene, and the question is, have you identified any direct competitors right now?
We are not aware of any really applying this in a commercial phase, but of course the most obvious potential competitors are genetics and breeding companies, but also in some instance pharmaceutical and vaccine companies. And we are also communicating with quite a few of them for potential partnerships.
Thank you, Øystein. Next questions go to Sibas. And the question are: autonomous water vehicles versus autonomous cars. What are the advantages by bringing the mobility on water compared to on the roads?
We believe it's a
Erik?
huge opportunity to start on water because what we see from autonomous cars, it's massively difficult to make that work commercially at a large scale. We are, competing against the largest companies in the world in this, but we have also chosen a very different segment, which is like short-traveled ferries on still water that is not very without high traffic. We think autonomous mobility will commercialize first on that segment and not on roads, because the situational awareness problem is so massively difficult for cars that it will still take a long time before that materializes, we believe.
Thank you. Last question out for today goes to Vivo Bionics, and the question are, how are your sensors installed, and are they in testing right now?
Needle through the abdominal wall, so it takes only some minutes to insert it in the body. It's under testing so we have planned clinical trials with a university center in Germany, and there are also some ongoing trials, or they are a bit delayed because of the COVID-19, but there are some ongoing trials as part of Syntef work that we will get results from. So, but we still have a prototype, so we will develop it further to a product, and then we will do many more clinical trials.
Thank you, Ingelin. Amazing startups, viewers, attendees. We are unfortunately out of time. And I would like to give a special and warm thank you to all of our amazing startups who have been joining the spotlight together with us here today. As you noticed, this was just a short speed date with a taste of some kick-ass technology, which is going to shape our future, I'm sure. Do you want to learn more about these startups? You can check out our website, technoport.no, or of course you can join our conference on the 27th of April, where you will meet several of these startups and where you also can give your vote to your favorite startup for the 100,000 Norwegian kroner. We know that 100,000 isn't a lot of money for these startups, but it might just put them on the radar for that special someone who can make the real difference. On behalf of ourselves here at Technoport, the Mid-Norway Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Greater Trondheim, I would like to say thank you to all of you for joining us here today. Take care, be safe, and I'll see you soon again. Goodbye.